All right. It seems like LinkedIn is cooperating. Yay. It's always the question. We're live and we're back. And thank you guys for joining us again. Always love having you. You are the reason we're here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Nancy Barrows, and Kelly Bryant is here with me again tonight, my mirror. And tonight we're going to be talking about, it's Father's Day. So we're going to be talking about the fact that Father's Day for a lot of people, yes, it's a day to celebrate. It's a day to have a very full heart. But the reality is that that's not the truth for everyone. And I want to honor that space, Kelly, as well. We talked about it. We want to honor the different experiences we have being parented by different people. New backdrop. Thank you. Okay. I'm looking down. I'm going to get in trouble for that. So. Hey guys, sorry, I'm trying to refine my skills here. Anyway, let's say hi. I saw Tim is here, I saw James is here, and I see Brian is here already. So we're going to talk about Father's Day. And what I would ask you all to do, and will throughout the broadcast, is if you know someone that would benefit from hearing this conversation, being part of this conversation, please tag them. Please let them know we're here and that we're holding space for all the different experiences, for all the different feelings, and we're engaging in a really open, honest conversation about that. So I'll start, Kelly. I think it's probably, do you want me to start? Okay. Yeah. So I have the good fortune. I'm so lucky that I have had an amazing father, and I've had the perfect father for me. I definitely, when I went through my trauma, my family stepped up, right? It definitely, it solidified bonds for us. And my dad has been one of my best friends my whole life. He's led by example. He is the person who has taught me to have an endlessly forgiving heart, to assume the best of people, to have grace with others, to live big. And I am so fortunate. I love my dad, and he's been my cheerleader, my rock, my kick in the tush when I need it. And I'm very fortunate for that. So in that sense, I've had a really great, I've had the great dad experience. And I know, though, that is not true for everyone. So as we are here today on Father's Day, I'm going to open the discussion to everyone in the comments, as always, to share your experiences, your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings. We are here to support you guys. Please know that we're holding space. Not only Kelly and I are holding space for one another, but we always hold space for you guys. So feel free, feel safe, feel brave, and join in the discussion whenever you feel you want to be part of it. Yes, thank you. So, we were talking about the different father experiences, and Kelly, I don't know if you're comfortable jumping in a little bit to yours.
Yeah. So, Father's Day is hard for me. I lost my dad. It'll be 4 years ago in October. And so Father's Day isn't...
Whenever you feel you want to be part of it. Yes, thank you.
It's just not always the most joyous day. I will say that, now that it's approaching 4 years, it's not as painful as it used to be. But yeah, I mean, the last 3 Father's Day were really, really tough. As far as growing up, Dad was my hero. Dad was Superman. He could do, there wasn't anything he couldn't do. He was super strong. He was very resourceful. He was so compassionate, so loving. He was a great man. At his funeral, all 4 of the kids gave eulogies, and so I'm the oldest of 4, and it was just really, really powerful. But I will say, and I think that this is an important conversation, not only for those people who no longer have their dads, but those who didn't have a great relationship with their dad. And while I can say that Dad was my hero, in losing him, a lot of healing occurred for me, and a lot of things came to light, I should say, in terms of what that relationship was. And while it was really great in a lot of ways, I think every dad will tell you that in some ways they mess up their kids. And so a lot of healing had to happen after that. And this is going to sound weird for some people, but my relationship with my dad now is so much better. It's like he meets me in meditations, in dreams. The pain and trauma that he caused me and my family members, for me, has been healed. And so I just think it's really important to recognize, well, you know, if you're watching and you knew my dad and you knew the relation, my family was the family that people would come over because it was a safe space. All the kids came, you know, in the neighborhood, or all of our friends would want to come to our place because it was a very safe, fun place to be. At the same time, it was not always that way. And there were some really hard times. My dad had anger issues, and that's no secret to people who knew us well. And now that he's gone, it's really amazing to be able to look back and heal from those things, and to kind of recognize the damage that can do to a family, and to see how much growth has happened in my family since Dad left. It's kind of amazing. I've described it as Dad was both the calm and the storm. He was our biggest protector and our biggest advocate, but man, there were times where we walked around on eggshells, afraid to anger him, you know. And I know it feels weird, it's to talk about the negative on Father's Day, but yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that nobody's perfect, and it's okay.
And I would just like to reframe. I don't think we're talking about the negative. I think we're talking about the real.
Yeah.
Right. I think the reality is that we're all human. Our parents are human. I think that is a place in time that we've all experienced. When you come to that place of learning, realizing, accepting that your parents are human and that they made mistakes.
Yes.
And in my case, did the best they could. But, you know, it doesn't feel right to me to say the negative. I think we're just being real.
Yep.
This is your experience. It's nothing positive or negative in terms of, like, I know it had negative effects potentially, but we're not talking about the negative. We're talking about your experience.
Yes.
And so I hold space for that. And I have no judgment for that. And I don't think it's weird. I think it's getting to a place that's a healthy relationship with your memory of your father.
Yes.
And what your experience was, and with yourself, for allowing yourself the permission to experience the relationship, not in an idyllic way, but the way it really was. And you bring up a good point. Like, yes, I think we have to honor that, you know, even the best dads may have made mistakes. They're human. And there are a lot of people out there that didn't even have the opportunity to have the dad that made the mistake, or the dad that tried, or the dad that was even able to be there. You know, people lose a father at a very young age, military, on deployment. There's so many reasons that relationships of any sort can look different than, quote unquote, the norm and what we celebrate on these holidays. And you know, I know, I see Jen there. I know Jen had a wonderful relationship with her dad, and I know she's also, you know, lost him. And so her day is probably, and Jen, you can tell us, but I think there's a lot of people who have, she's married to an amazing man who's an amazing father, but she's still, you know, missing her own dad. And I made a post today, actually, it just like came to me and flowed out of me about the whole thing. I was reading everybody's posts on LinkedIn, their stories, and they weren't all positive, quote unquote, right? They were all very real though. And every single one of them touched my heart and will leave that like imprint on my soul. And I was so grateful that people would tell their story.
Yes.
Tell it the way it was. Tell any regrets they had, any beautiful moments, and that we were able to, they were sharing with us so we could celebrate with them, we can be sad with them, we could mourn with them. And ultimately, all of those threads, weaving that all together, it shows us how we are so much more similar than different.
Yes.
And it was really powerful for me to see everybody's experience, and truly every story was as beautiful as the human that posted it.
Well, To that note, and I think you even said it in your post about today, or about the conversation today. I always say that through our transparency, other people are transformed. It's one of my favorite quotes. But I think in this situation, it's just about knowing that you're not alone, right? So when we share the truth, when we share what's real, no matter what that looks like, we create that space for other people to feel safe and know that they aren't alone, right? That your situation, your experience growing up with dad, whatever that looked like, maybe somebody else can relate to it and feel less alone.
Absolutely. And I think that's the space that when people are sharing, we create that brave space.
Yes.
That space where we can all enter in, knowing we're not the only one, knowing we're not the only one that's going to be vulnerable, knowing we're not the only one that's had the experience, and allowing one another the opportunity. I have a cat crawling behind me, not shocking. The opportunity to be real, right? And not have to make it a Hallmark holiday if it's not.
Right.
Let it be painful if it's painful. To not have to be anything other than in that moment. And to me, one of the biggest gifts we can give one another is to be willing to be alongside someone in that moment, whatever it is, right? You just be there for them. Sorry. Okay. Hi. Again, it's this place where if we all enter into it together, there's so much room for healing. There's so much room for support.
Right.
There's so much room for, exactly what you're doing. Like, I know my dad's not perfect, but I always say he's the perfect dad for me.
Yes.
He was the perfect dad for me. And my parents had to go through a lot with me. I mean, and it wasn't just, yes, the abuse was big, but I'm the kid who had the fake ID at 15 years old and was in bars in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I'm growing up in New York. I was not easy. It was not an easy kid to parent. But they stuck with me and they always knew what I needed, whether or not I recognized it at the time. Now, my dad can be super stubborn and he and I will butt heads like none other. But we can do it because we know the foundation of love is there. It's always there. We're always coming from a loving place. And I know, again, I'm so grateful for that because I know that's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And so again, if you're just coming in, thank you for joining us. We are talking about fathers, and we are talking about all of the different experiences and all the different places and all the different gifts they've given us and wounds. So here we go. And the wounds that we've healed or have to heal, the things that we've taken with us, our lessons learned. And this is always in life to me. Yeah. Some of the biggest battles are the best lessons learned. And so trying to find some gratitude for the places where our parents were human, if it's deserved. I know there's lots of people who,
That's so key. And you said, whatever Father's Day brings for you, whatever feelings, whether that's happy or sad, to allow. And I think that that's so important to just take a minute and recognize, because when I woke up this morning and really leading up to today, I just wanted to avoid. While I'm at a stage of grief where I can be very grateful for my dad, and I can say, it doesn't hit me the way it used to, where I just want to cry all day, At the same time, I just thought, Father's Day isn't a day. It's, I don't have dad anymore. We're not going to go, grill or hang out at the pool. I'm just going to treat today like any other day. And in that, I feel like I was avoiding, right? I was avoiding whatever those feelings were going to be, whatever they were. And so I think for whatever reason, whatever you feel on Father's Day, to embrace that and to allow yourself to feel those feelings. And what you said about it causing growth is so true. I tell friends often, triggers aren't a bad thing, right? If you're sad or you're angry or you're frustrated or you're irritated, that's just a sign of something that you can address, of an area where you can grow. So I was telling a friend about being on the show tonight, and he said, why are you doing that to yourself? You know? And I just think, because it's good for me, because it means growth. Because
and would not being here have changed the experience for you at all? Like, that's the thing for me, is like, if I'm going to be sad, if I'm going to be contemplative, if I'm going to be mourning, if I'm going to be like, that's all going to happen whether or not I show up here. But by showing up here, I have the opportunity to be embraced by others,
right,
and have where I'm at be meaningful to someone else.
right. It's an opportunity. Right?
Exactly.
It's an additional, like you said, it's an additional opportunity to process, right? Only I'm processing in front of a lot of other people, right? And hopefully, you know, allowing other people to maybe triggering something in somebody else, right? Triggering that growth or acceptance or love in other people. So thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Thank you guys. There's been so much support for Kelly and being brave and sharing her story. And I know even if you haven't been in her shoes, you can understand how big this is to do, and how brave. And I love that we have a community that you can do that with. And what you get back is exactly this. Thank you. I want you to just take these in for a second. The love is there for you. And again, what's flowing back towards you is exactly what you give to everyone every day. So for people out there, if you want to share again in the comments, we're here talking about Father's Day. For Kelly, I'm not in your shoes. And when I think of being in your shoes, it's like someone's ripping my beating heart out of my chest, right? I can't even entertain the thought for very long.
I know.
And so A, I appreciate you sharing and entering into this space. B, you're very insightful and brilliant and come from a place always of knowing. And I would, if you're able, if you have something to express about, like, what advice do you have? Like, what was the worst? What was the best? What is the thing that helped? And it might not be true for anyone else, but it likely is true for at least one person.
Specifically about losing Dad?
Yeah, about what you do after, right? How do you?
Yeah. Man, grief is so hard because it's different for everyone.
And it's not linear.
It's not linear, right? It's just not. I used to use the phrase, I got hit by a bus today, because it just comes out of nowhere. Sometimes you think you're fine, and then all of a sudden it's like, bam, and your whole world is upside down. I like this, Robert.
Triggers are necessary for action. B equals M plus A plus G. Behavior equals motivation plus ability plus trigger. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, thank you.
As far as advice about dealing with grief, you just like anything else, you have to allow, you have to feel it. One of the things, so right after my dad died, the whole family did a class on grief. It was a full day, and one of the things that it was because it was right before Christmas, actually. And so it was like how to deal with the holidays after, the first holiday after you've lost your loved ones. And one of the things that I just thought was so helpful and profound was to do what feels right. If you don't feel like going to Christmas dinner, or if you feel like staying in your bed and crying all day, or if you need to go shopping or drink some wine or whatever it is that you need to do, to just allow, just do it. And don't feel guilty for the change, right? For just because it's like what you do every year or tradition or whatever, that really that time more than any and I'm a huge advocate for self-love and taking care of yourself and making yourself first. More than ever, don't be afraid to put yourself first. I had a really good friend right when my dad passed away tell me he had lost his dad recently and said, make sure to drink lots of water and take your vitamins. Okay.
Yeah, the things that you normally do to take care of yourself become difficult to do. And when you're left, I mean, I think there's some universals about grief, right?
Yeah.
There's a place of punishing ourselves. Mm-hmm. I think in grief, like we're here, they're not.
Survivor's guilt is a real thing.
Right. Survivor's guilt is a very real thing. I know the grief that I've experienced in my life, again, not linear, and the things that I would prepare for, the things that I expected to be really hard. And so I would do all that prep work. I would sit with it. What do I need? And how am I going to handle it? Manifest it and visualize it, right? Those half the time I wouldn't have needed to do that. For some reason, it just didn't hit me the way it was. And then I would go do the most benign thing and be hit like a ton of bricks. And like, again, out of nowhere, like you're saying, it's you got hit by a truck. And so I think that every loss has something different to it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because it depends on the relationship and all the pieces that you're mourning specifically. I think there are some universals for grief, and I'm sure we've got a community who has lived life that have experienced grief, and invite you, if you have anything to add to this conversation in terms of grief, or even fathers, share your stories of celebration. Just because the conversation right now is one that's a little bit more serious, a little bit more on the loss side, it doesn't mean we're not able to celebrate for other people. That's another big one I know with grief, is like people start to withdraw their good from you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really dangerous place, right? You've got this place where you're already feeling loss and sad and grief and lonely in a lot of ways and isolated. And then people don't want to put their happy in your face. Right. And it's like, well, no, what I need is happy. And I have space. I have plenty of space for all of it, right? I can be in my grief, or I can step aside. I can put my grief on hold. And I know that sounds like, but I actually think it's important to do. In my life, that's been important to do, is to say, I don't need to be in this 24/7 for it to be valid. Right. I can, I can celebrate, I can laugh, I can be with people and feel alive. And that's important. Yes. And I can still have my grief with me, and I can still have my process of grieving, even though I'm not in it full time. Again, if you are listening and you know someone who might benefit from hearing this conversation or being a part of it, please tag them. We're creating space for anyone who needs it. And let's say hello to a few people. I know I saw James and Brian and Jen. Thank you for being here. Robert Murray, Jenny Gold, thank you. Who else am I seeing? James was here. Is still here, I believe. I know Maria said she was popping in. Katie J, I think you're probably still with us, knowing you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being amazing, amazing, amazing humans that support one another and show up. I think that's huge too. You guys are showing up. Thank you. It's funny because today, probably more than usual, my brother is out of town, and that's who I would usually go celebrate with. And they're out of town, and I don't have kids. And so my nieces and nephews have always been my kids, in the sense that it's not the same. But I have been so fortunate. The relationship I have with my brother and sister-in-law has allowed me to be a part of their lives in a way that has really fostered my having relationships with my nieces and nephews that are very special. And so they're out of town, so I didn't have what to do for Father's Day, kind of thing. And my dad's far away. My dad's still recovering, and so I have a bit of anxiety in my head about that. And it's a day. Hi, Carl. I see you showing up here with us. Thank you. It's a Father's Day where I have more people who are fathers in my life than ever before because of being on LinkedIn.
That's so cool.
Right. And there were so many people to celebrate today. And I celebrated my neighbor, David. David and Kathy have adopted me during this pandemic. You've heard me speak about them. They feed me. David helped me move furniture today. And again, I sent him, I wrote him a card that said, you make sure I make it home okay. You call me when you haven't heard from me in a while. You show up anytime I need you. Like, I don't know what else you would need to do to be family and be a dad to me.
That's
right.
true.
That's the other thing, is we have the opportunity to rest. And so I've always been so lucky with the people in my life, but I also realized, I had a moment today. I never planned on having kids. That wasn't something that, I went into even my marriage planning to have kids, but there are times when things come up and I grieve a loss of something I never planned to have. You're with me?
I'm laughing because you are my mirror. Like, it is so funny. I'm not funny, but 100%.
Yeah. I see these amazing relationships. Let's talk about real. I'll get real here, guys. I see these amazing relationships that people have with their kids, and that they're being celebrated. And when people talk about being a father, or even Mother's Day, as such an important job and the best job you can have, and the incredible feeling of wearing your heart outside of your chest and raising an amazing human and all of that, it's not that I don't celebrate everyone else. That is still there, but I was surprised to find myself in this place of, yeah, and it's okay, but I was mourning something that I never lost. And it wasn't a plan. I never planned to have kids. It's not like, it just didn't happen for me and I always wanted them. I actually never planned to have kids.
It's so interesting. I know that, it's really common on Mother's Day to talk about, to those who, haven't had children, want to have children, celebrating everyone every woman who's a mother in some way or another, right? It's not a common conversation to have for fathers, right?
It's true.
Who maybe wanted to be dads and couldn't, for whatever reason, right? So, oof.
Yeah, it's funny. It does hit me differently than Mother's Day. It hits me, and I think in part, yeah, I love my mom. So we're not going to say this is a comparison at all. A relationship, especially for a daughter with her father, assuming you have the type of relationship that you and I had, is a very, very special relationship. My dad was my model for how a woman should be loved.
Yes. And I think that universally is true. That your parents,
good, bad, or different.
Right? Good, bad, exactly. But your parents, and the way your dad loves your mom or whoever it is that he is with while you're growing up, that sets the standard. That is norm for you. And if the norm is that mom and dad fight all the time, then you think that's normal.
Right. And you fit into that comfortably, right?
Yes. Then you don't know any better, and you fall into similar relationships, right? Because that was normal. That's okay. Or if your dad treated your mom like a princess, then you think that's what you deserve, and no one will ever live up to.
Nope. And I've got it both sides. My brother is the same way with his wife as my dad is with my mom.
Yes.
I mean, I say all the time, my parents have been married 50 plus years, probably 60 plus years. And I'm sorry, mom and dad, I should probably know that. But my dad still brings my mom flowers for no reason.
Beautiful.
At least once a week. Yeah. I mean, it's just, he'll talk about my mom week. He'll be like, I love when she doesn't wear makeup. I wish she wouldn't wear makeup more. Like things like that. Like and he'll say when he looks at her, he doesn't see, she looks in the mirror, and we all do this. We look in the mirror and we see our aged self,
all
right?
The wrinkles,
no, exactly. All the things,
the gray hair,
the gray hair, the tired look on my face. And he never sees her that way. Neither does my brother. And so I'm so spoiled that I'm so grateful, because it's taught me really important lessons, really important things about how what I accept as okay, and that okay is not what I'm striving for. That there are men out there who love hard and fully and deeply and openly and unconditionally, and that's out there. I think about my parents having gone through the disclosure of my abuse.
Yep.
And how that could have easily torn them apart, but they leaned into one another.
Yeah.
They found comfort in one another, and so I joke that I'm overqualified for the job. Why am I single? I'm overqualified for the job, which is in part true. I'm not easy. I'm definitely not easy. And we can have a whole nother show on, and this is not to anyone in our audience necessarily, but how men think they want strong women.
Ooh.
Yeah. How men think they want strong women, and they're out there. But yes, I'm overqualified for the job, but I also have a very high standard because I know it's possible.
Yeah, you saw it.
I know it's possible. I saw it, and I've seen it in more than one person, my brother, my father, and I've seen it in other relationships, for sure. And when I decided that I was no longer going to be married, right, there went a lot into that. And I didn't go through all of that to settle. For me, and this is not fathers, except for the fact that it was all demonstrated by my dad and my mom and their relationship. But for me, not only do I want to be loved the way I deserve to love, I want to be able to love the way I'm capable of loving. And I think that's really important. So,
and go further into that. You want to be able to love the way you're capable of loving. What do you need to be able to do that?
Right. Who's the person who's going to receive that in the way that and again, I'm open to, because of the way I love may not feel like love to you. And so I can adjust that. Right. But what do I need for that? I need someone who's got that emotional intelligence, who can handle receiving it, who can remain open to it, who can see past, those ugly days. Yes. I mean, when I was single the first time around, my brother, my sister-in-law was certain that my brother was going to find me someone at his law firm. And I remember having a conversation and my brother being like, okay, fine. Well, what are you looking for? And I've told this story before. I'm sure most, if not all of you have heard this. I said, well, he's going to look at me and say, I love you. And he'll always start with, I love you. And he's going to say, I love you, but you're being a bitch right now. Because I know what I'm capable of, right? And I need us both to be in that honest, brave space.
Yes.
And being willing to enter into that really scary conversation, that really scary, vulnerable place. Because, again, for me, one of the things in my marriage that was hard is I had a white knight. But a white knight is never vulnerable. They're never in need. They're never weak. They're never, anything but the hero to the story. And it's hard to be the person who builds vulnerability, who builds connection through vulnerability all the time, to be the one person who's doing that.
Yes.
So
I think, and I think this is what you're saying in a way, but for me, similarly, I want someone who's growing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want to know that I'm growing. I'm so focused on growing as a human being and dealing with my pain and my trauma and my hurt and healing and becoming a better person every day. Right? Agreed. I'm doing the best I can until I know better. And if I know better tomorrow, I'm going to do better tomorrow. Right? And to me, that's compatibility to me, to find someone else who's also on that path. Who's not satisfied, who's not doesn't think they're the knight, the knight on the white horse. Somebody that is doing the work.
Yeah, I agree.
Jen had such a great comment that I want to go back to because it relates to what you were saying about the perfect parents for you.
Jen.
You didn't have the perfect parent, or you don't believe in perfect parents, but you had the perfect parents for you. And I think just that recognizing that we were given the parents that we needed to grow who we are as human beings, right? no matter what that was, the strength that they built in us and the model that they were for us, right? For you, your dad, the way he loved your mom, that was the perfect example for you. And at the same time, the things that I learned from my dad and the healing that has happened post, losing my dad, both in how difficult his death was and how hard that was on me. But then also just recognizing kind of we've talked about this on other shows, but the generational things, the limiting beliefs, right, that came from my dad and probably his dad and the dad before, right? That everything, what did Jen say? That every wound I've healed and overcome has built me to be me and to better serve others. And that comes from not just my parents and grandparents, but my environment and everything else that may not have had perfect parents. Maybe there is no such thing as a perfect parent, but they may.
I mean, none of us is a perfect human, so I don't know how we could be a perfect parent.
But in one way or another, they made us who we are today.
Right. And for you and I know that we're proud of the humans we are, and we're proud of the growth that we have achieved. And so for all the times they misstepped, I have grace and I have gratitude. Yes. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome in to Connected Human Conversations. I'm Nancy Barrows, and this is Kelly Bryant, and we're here talking about Father's Day and fathers and so much more, it seems. We're talking about, the impact of those relationships and the lessons learned in the hurt spaces. And thank you all for being here and for the support. We have a lot of people in our audience that are dads, and I'm going to ask you guys, for you as fathers, is there a lesson? Is there something you recognized that maybe your dad didn't do perfectly, and you sort of decided when you became a parent, or maybe before you became a parent, that this was going to be something that you changed? We're talking about that generational stuff, perhaps, right? That it was, thank you, Tim. I am, and it's an amazing thing to be so aware of and watch happen, I will say. But is there that lesson that you wanted to make sure your son or daughter learned, that they went forward with, that was important to you? And if you're comfortable sharing, I would love to hear it, because I think those are important things for all of us to hear and know. Yes. Because those are the places where we feel insecure. I have people, friends talk to me all the time like, oh my gosh, I feel like such a bad mom, or oh my gosh, I feel like such a bad dad. And anytime any of my friends, anyone I know comes to me with that statement, I stop them and say, I'm going to stop you right there, because the fact that you're considering it, that you're thinking about it and you're reflecting on it, means you are not a bad parent. You can't be a bad parent if you're reflecting on how your choices are impacting your child.
Yes.
You may not get them all right, but you are trying and you are aware and you're willing to look at yourself and your contribution. So I think that's amazing. So if there's any lessons learned, anything you want to share, please feel free. I am growing. I am in growth mode. I am so appreciative of it. It's a really fun place to be. And while not every day is fun, I'm going to say this for Tim. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Love. And then, of course, I'm going to have to say love, because I love you. Because love is too hard. Look at the two of these people sharing one brain. Love, I got you. Love. All right, we're good. We're moving on. And these are two amazing dads. I've had the privilege of seeing them interact with their kids. I mean, Tim's son, for his birthday yesterday, I posted a picture of him playing Pretty Princess with his daughters. And I've never seen a more beautiful picture of him wearing earrings and a crown and whatever else was in that picture. Because he just met them where they were at. And he was willing to be with them. I mean, what a beautiful thing. So anyway, I'm totally jazzed by all the stuff that I'm experiencing now, and that I get to share it with a community that appreciates it and supports it and cheerleads me through it. So thank you all. Thank you. Let's see. James is saying, I tell my boys that my job is to make them better man than I am. They soak that up. I don't have all the answers. Humility is key with the kids. They connect on that. I admit my mistakes. I didn't grow up with that. I think that is huge, James. Thank you for saying that, because I think as adults, one of the biggest things we can do is admit to our mistakes and show how you deal with them. Take responsibility for them, apologize for them, let people know that you're working on it, you're trying, and you care. I think that's so huge to be transparent.
Especially for a man, I mean, I think that we talked about this, but your job as you're conditioned societally as a man to not admit your mistakes,
right?
To always be right and be strong. And I think as we grow, as humanity, as we level up, being able to admit your mistakes is so important for the development of your children. Mm-hmm. So important.
I do it as an educator.
Yes.
All the time. I apologize to my students or the kids I'm working with of I'm human. I have a story from when I first started teaching. Brian, remember? Yes, be present. It is easy to lose track. It's easy to think that other things are more important and that those years do fly by. And you can't go back. Absolutely. And that's being an aware parent, right? That's that piece of being an aware parent. I started teaching, and well, I'm a speech pathologist, so I didn't teach in the classroom, but I'm in education. And I remember working with a group of kids and having a great time, totally enjoying them, and looking up the clock and realizing that I had kept them too long, quote unquote. They're supposed to have a half an hour and I'd kept them 40 minutes. And, I was new and was still working on code switching, and I looked at the clock and went, shit. In front of a bunch of 4th and 5th graders. And man, the first thing I was like, when I said to them, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's fine. You don't have to apologize. I'm like, but I do need to apologize to you because that wasn't appropriate.
Yep.
That wasn't okay. And they said something like, well, don't worry, we won't tell anyone. And of course I panicked. I'm like, no, it's tell anybody you want to tell. It's okay. Yeah. I messed up and I'll do better next time.
Yep.
Right. And so that modeling that we are all human and how you step into that space and how you deal with it, I think it's so incredibly important. We have so many great comments here. Megan, our 9-year-old, wanted to go out to a friend's house on my birthday. I say, go. I want her to be happy on my birthday. Even if it's not with me, I see her all year long. And that is that selfless heart of a parent.
Yep.
Again, I say it must be a very hard thing to do, to wear your heart outside your body. I can't imagine. And yes, I'm the queen of not apologizing. I'm sure I apologized. So I undo it. I don't know what I apologize for. And Brian, thank you. In just a few short months, my monkey man is on his way to Princeton and my monkey girl transferring to, I know we can't know yet, what he's most proud of, the hearts. Yeah, for one another and for others. And Brian had an amazing post that his daughter had put up on social media about, how much she loved him. And it wasn't just her brother, but her best friend. And again, as a parent, that relationship between your kids and what they bring to the world, that has to feel really good. That has to feel really good to see these amazing humans go out into the world.
Well, Brian, that comment, their hearts for one another and for others, the first thing I thought was, well, they get that from you.
I was going to say,
they absolutely get that from their dad.
Right. I don't know that they
I don't know mom. I don't know mom. Maybe they get from mom too, but I know without a doubt they get that from dad.
Absolutely. Right. Brian has the biggest heart and he always has room to give more. And his children have seen him do that over the years. And the amazing thing, and Brian had said it in one of his posts, is that he's never missed anything of theirs. So he has demonstrated this amazing ability to be there for others while still being there for his. Yeah. You were saying about how being the place to gather growing up. My household was a place to gather too. Yeah. And because it was a very accepting, very positive energy space. And it didn't occur to me till you were saying that people who didn't have that would come to my home. And one of my best friends, he had, there was so much going on, both with his mom and dad who were divorced. And he spent a lot of time at our house because it was a safe, loving environment. not only for me and my brother, but for anyone who entered.
Yes.
Anyone who entered. Yes, I know this is your pride and joy. And that you so sincerely appreciate every moment of it. Let's see. Right. Missing the moments was not an option for you, but that's a priority. That's a decision. That's something that you absolutely, gosh, Brian's writing paragraphs.
He's blowing us up. Yeah.
He is. He's flowing here. So yes. Okay. I'm going to summarize it. Everything that you did, every late night, every sick night, every drive, every chauffeur, every presentation. And I know as a parent, when you sit out, you have to sit through every performance. You do it with a smile on your face, but I've been to school productions. I've been behind a school production. And the fact that you decided, right? You decided time and time again, we're constantly given the choice. You decide time and time again to make the one to put your family first. And that's again, what Kelly said, it speaks to the beautiful heart you had. And here's Tim, just shout out to Joy, right? His wife. Again, this is the beauty of these men who exist that I know are out there, which is why I don't settle. Because these hearts are out there, and there's one for me out there somewhere. Sorry, I'm reading. Yes. Okay, hang on. You guys are going, so you're doing great. Thank you. Yes, our mentors, our family first, all of that great stuff. So if you're just joining into this love fest, I'm Nancy Barrows. This is Kelly Bryant. This is Connected Human Conversations, and we're having our very special Father's Day episode where we are open to any experience and any part of this conversation that anyone wants to have. And we have just been basking in the beauty of a couple of really great dads, a couple of really phenomenal humans who lead by example in fathering. And Kelly and I were sharing our experiences that we both love our fathers. Kelly's is no longer with her. Mine is. But that recognition of having the perfect parent for you, but not that parent being perfect.
Yes.
And that coming to that place, there's such appreciation there. There's such appreciation there. Holding a parent to a perfect standard.
We just recognize that everyone's human, right?
Right. Everyone's human, and that it's an unattainable standard.
Perfection.
Yes. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as perfection, which is why I say he was the perfect father for me. He is the perfect father for me, my dad. And in being human, he's the perfect father for me. Yep. So again, if you guys are watching, if you're just coming in and you think there's someone that would benefit from hearing this conversation, please tag them, please direct them toward us and this conversation so that they find this space and they can join us in our brave space today where we are all sharing. Thank you, Tim. I know I without a shadow of a doubt, I know I have a community that has my back every time, even when I mess up, right?
Yes.
I shouldn't say even when I am completely human.
There you go.
Even when I show my very human sides. Yes. When my very human sides show. Thank you guys for sharing in the comments. You have such insight and wisdom. James alluded to the fact that he didn't have what he gives to his kids from his parents. Thank you for sharing that, James. It sounds like you recognize something that you could change moving forward in the fathering of your children. So congratulations on that. It's brave and beautiful and only happens if you're aware. If anyone else has anything they want to share, or even share how you celebrated today and what you did. I know Tim shared a little bit about his day. There's plenty of room to celebrate. I know our conversation has been a little bit more toward the, reality, the reality of parenting, but the reality is there's a lot to celebrate as well. So please don't hesitate to put your celebrations in the comments and let us know what you're thinking about that. Kelly, anything, I'm looking at time, we've got about 10 more minutes. Anything that you feel or that's in your heart that you want to share, or that we didn't get to?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this and alluded to it also in the fact that both of our homes were safe spaces for other people. That, you know, one of the things that we did, and I don't even think it was intentional, for my dad's funeral, was people kept coming to us and sending us messages or telling us stories about how they felt fathered by my dad. And I think whether we're talking about my dad or your dad or just men in general, I think it's really important, especially on Father's Day, to recognize, like you did with your neighbor, that, you know, your father figures can come from any area of life, right?
Sometimes our father figures are mothers.
Absolutely.
They
May not be biological, right?
Right.
It might be someone, you know, a professor in your college. It could be your best friend's dad. It could be, you know, a teacher. It could be your next door neighbor, whoever it is, you know. I think that it is really important to recognize that our father figures come in all shapes and sizes, in all ages. It's not necessarily your biological father, and I think that's okay.
I absolutely agree. And I think that this idea, sorry guys, I'm not apologizing. Sorry, Tim. I appreciate you all being patient with the light. It's being worked on. I think for me, one of those realizations was I'm going to need parenting my entire life. I'm going to be open to parenting being parented my entire life.
Yes.
Because there's always someone who has wisdom to share. There's always someone who's willing to reach out a hand.
Yes.
There's always someone who's willing to sit with me. And I'm always growing and changing. And so I'm going to accept, look forward to, embrace being parented for the rest of my life. Hi, Michael Baker. Oh, thank you. Well,
I'm apologizing.
I'm unapologizing. Yes, I'm unapologizing. And so for me, that's a nice, warm, sort of happy place to be, to know that that's always going to be there for me.
Right.
And again,
so, yeah, where you went growing up thinking 18 and I'm done.
Oh gosh.
Right.
Oh man. If I had stopped growing at 18.
Oh.
Wow. That's a thought. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Needing that parenting, that never ends, right?
Mm-mm. Which is why my mom can still ask me, you know, tell me to bring a coat, even though, you know, at 47 years old, right? I don't know. I freeze all the time when you're not here, Mom. You know, thank you, Mommy. I love you. I don't know. That's why I've been cold without you here, Mommy. But it's from that place of love, and it's from that place of always being, again, when you wear your heart outside of your body. And I'm talking about the best of circumstances, because I know there are people who don't look at parenting that way, or not suited for parenting that way. So anybody who has any last thoughts, please put them in the comments. Again, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing this conversation. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for joining in us in this brave space. Please do tag anyone you think would benefit from hearing this conversation. Today is not an easy day for a lot of people. One of the reasons Kelly and I are here having this conversation is because we know it's not. We know that the people for whom today is a day of celebration are very much recognized. And the people for whom today is a harder day, a day of grief or sadness or longing, or even feeling lost and confused. We wanted to make sure that this space was held for you, and that you had a place to show up and join in a conversation. And thank you for allowing us to be that space.
Beautifully said.
So with that, I'm going to wish everybody a very Father's Day. A very Father's Day.
A very Father's Day.
A very Father's Day, because it's going to be what you need it to be. And we hold space for that. We send you light and love wherever you are on this day. And Kelly, before I let you go, I know that you will be traveling and doing an amazing retreat in Spain. So I am sending with you just all sorts of light and love for safe travels and growth and enlightenment, and for betterment for you and the people around you, because you are amazing. And anyone who has the opportunity to spend time with you benefits from your beautiful heart.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course. And that also means that next weekend, Kelly will not be with me. She will be, like I said, in Spain, retreating and growing and expanding with those around her. But Brian Shulman did say that he would join me next weekend. So I'll be back, and Brian Shulman will be joining me, and we look forward to seeing you all here again. We'll do just, hang on. We've got one more
round.
One more round. Okay. We'll do love and then lurve, because we got to do them both, right? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Love. And then we'll do our lurve. I love you. You have to make a face when you say I lurve. Somehow you got to make a face. Anyway, love to you all. Thank you for joining us as always. We love you. Have a great week. Thank you for allowing us to be here and for sharing your time and yourselves with us. We appreciate you.